I hear this question from time to time. Why do good people have to die? This is a naive question, a question that I feel should be quite simple for anyone to answer. It's because moral righteousness does not grant immunity from mortality. Good people will die. Bad people will die. The circumstances are arbitrary. The morality is meaningless. To simply assume that good people somehow have more of a right to live than wicked people, whether it feels just or not, is simply not reality. Don't cry to me about the injustice of what I do. I'm not particularly interested in the justice of man anyway. Forgive me, I confess myself bitter today as I write. If you were to walk through the street of Berlin now and look up on top of this small coffee shop on some street north of the center of the town, you might see me in the form of a young woman riding under an overcast and gloomy sky. The air is muggy like it will rain, and it is weather like this that stir memories. Memories of good people who die and evil people who don't. In 1942, I've passed through Germany quite frequently, through certain camps, and I dispensed the justice of a madman upon a group of people I've had far too much interaction with over the course of this world. There are many madmen in this world, and most are not handed power. Most do not command the deaths of thousands upon thousands in the name of justice or the greater good. And yet he did. The Führer did. Now, I do not judge people's hearts, as I said before, but I confess I was rather disgusted with Adolf Hitler. He's a man I came to know quite well during his reign as dictator of the fatherland. He was fascinating in his own way, actually, a brilliant speaker, a man with great potential. Yet he did not wield his words to heal a broken nation. He did not wield his intellect to bring peace, no. No, he wielded his words and his intellect so he might wield me. Wield death. To use me as his sick form of justice upon the world that he felt had wronged him and his nation. How he used me. I'll never forget it. Don't get me wrong, I've carried the weight of entire nations on my shoulders. Genocide is nothing new to this world, and it has existed long before that madman and his Third Reich. But what made this so unique for me was not the genocide itself, but the industrialization of it, the manner in which it was done. So organized, so put together, so concentrated. This was not the result of mere war or the struggle for territory or simply survival of the fittest, no. No, this was cold, calculated, and merciless, and all in the name of this madman's sense of justice. I'd been to the camps. I'd seen what they were used for, what they did there. I watched as thousands of Jews suffered and met me. The Jews became very familiar with me over the course of the years they were locked away there. They knew my smell. They knew my embrace. And as I walked through those camps carrying the souls of innocent lives that were needlessly ended, I noticed how many of these poor and broken people reached out to me as I passed them by, begging me to take them with me. How rare to feel wanted. And yet, I couldn't do it. As sad and as painful as it was, I couldn't take them before their time, so they simply had to wait in line. So much misery and suffering because of the dreams and the justice of a madman. I actually have to steady my hand as I recount the ovens and the gas chambers, those detestable cold chambers. And they were disguised so cleverly, too. They were built and designed to look like barracks, and when the Jews would get off of that train, the SS officers forced them to run as fast as they could into those chambers, so that they couldn't take the time to look around and figure out what the camp's purpose actually was. Did they know that they were running right to me? Did they know what was waiting? And then once that gas came on, I could only watch as the Jews cried and coughed, trying to escape and plea for help. You know, for a country that had felt the effects of mustard gas in a war that was only a few decades ago, I'm actually amazed that they would fall back on this form of execution. The irony actually makes me a little sick. It didn't take long, but it was painful. I extracted their souls carefully, In my opinion, it was an act of mercy. When the souls were taken, I had the displeasure of watching other prisoners walk in and extract the bodies, piling them up like lumber in the streets, as if a testament to the world, a monument to the justice of madness. Of course, the day that I would finally come for Hitler was not a day that I was in a particularly happy mood. I've been waiting for that day for a long time, not because I wanted Hitler dead. I've never longed to have a man meet me for ill purposes, but because I had a question I wanted to ask him. I found his body. I stood over him as he slowly began to let go of this mortal coil. I leaned down and I extracted his soul with the same gentleness and care that I would any other soul. I don't differentiate, but I was not sorrowful. I did not shed any tears for the death of Hitler. I simply looked at his soul and I asked him what I had wanted to ask him since that genocide began, and what I had longed to ask during those days under the weeping cotton skies. Was it worth it? Was it worth it, mein Führer? He didn't answer. Now that I consider it, I really didn't want an answer, because I don't think I could live with his reply. How could he account for the genocide of thousands? How could he account for the deaths of men, women, and children? What would he say about it? I don't want to know. For a man with twisted ideals like his, I'm not sure his answer would have been rational anyway. In his mind, I'm sure he saw it as the right thing. Cold? Sure. Distasteful? Possibly. Maybe a bit extreme? Certainly. But not wrong. He'd justify it all as for the good of his dream, or in the name of justice for his country, and it is for that very reason I do not deal in man's justice. I'm no hero of morality. I'm no wicked tyrant. I am merely death. I am but a fleeting moment in time. I come when it is time to come, and I go when my work is done. Good or evil, I come for all in the end. Sometimes I am the result of the actions of villains. Sometimes I'm the result of actions of righteousness. Oftentimes I am enacted in the name of ideals like justice, progress, ambition, power, fame, even peace, ironically. But none of these things define me. I do not deal in them personally. I do not take sides for ideological ends. I simply am who I am. I've watched the comings and goings of life, of good and of evil, and though I am an angel and I stand on the side of the most righteous, it is not my place to enact punishment or justice. That, as with so many things, is not my burden to bear. I have enough of those already. The justice of man is not my burden. Good people die. Bad people die. It's not my choice. It's reality. I must go now, and I will write again when I'm in higher spirits, I hope. I apologize for the cynical nature of this entry. Sincerely, Death.